Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sedona Psychics podcast. We are here today after our short little break due to upgrading our equipment and getting things a little bit more on the bougie side to be a little bit more professional. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm Emma.
I'm Jeffrey.
And I'm Relic. And today we are talking about probably something that Sedona is most well known for, the vortexes here in Sedona. And I would say that that is one of the big reasons why we started this podcast is that a lot of people will come in and they want to know about the psychic readings. They want to know all of that. But like without a doubt, the second thing that people ask about, sometimes the most common thing, is the vortexes, right? They want to know where they are, how to find them, how to work with them. And so that really is what today's episode is about. We're going to get into where these vortexes are, what they are, how to get the most out of your experience with them. And so I know I am really excited to get into this stuff. I know that Jeffrey definitely is right there with me. And this one's a long time coming, I would say.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. That is definitely one of the reasons why we started this whole podcast is because of how many people that come in and are like, oh, what do you guys do here? Psychic readings? Okay, we don't want that. But can you tell us about how the vortexes work? But everything that we researched online and on the interweb and everything else, we just thought was very, very lacking about how to come out here and use and work with the vortexes. So we have come up with a brand new vortex guide because the one that everybody's been giving out here was over 45 years old. So we have a brand new vortex guide that explains all the different vortexes out here. We've added about 20 new vortexes that you can go out and see other than the just big main four. But one of the things, it's not just about going out to the vortexes. It's about how they work, what they are, how to identify them, like what you're going to feel when you get out there.
Yeah. And on that note, as far as what they are, what do they look like? A vortex it's technically, it's a mathematical or geometric term, right? A vortex is literally, it's a shape. It's the shape of energy swirling around a central point or axis. So think like a tornado, a whirlpool, a dust devil, right? These are all things that we see in nature. These are physical, tangible examples of vortexes. Here in Sedona, most of the time people are in search of not vortexes you could see with the naked eye, but they're looking for energy vortexes, points on the planet where the life force energy, right? The chi, the prana, the force here in the West it's increased. So you can kind of tap into that increased energy.
And so there are actual physical things first off, like the vortexes, you can't see them with the naked eye, but where these vortexes appear, there are signs that this is where this vortex is constantly here. And here's the thing, like these vortexes don't show up like I'm vortex 472. I show up here Monday through Friday, 8 till 7 a.m. I'm always going to be this exact same spot. Like when you're thinking about these vortexes, they can kind of shift in that little general area a little bit. So Mike, what are we looking for when you and I go out and do our shaman work to like make sure we're in a good vortex?
Yeah, I would say that the best visual cue is the trees. So you're going to look when you're here in Sedona and you're doing some vortex hunting on your own, you're looking for the twisty trees. These are the juniper trees here in Sedona. And they will literally look like somebody grabbed the branch or the trunk and just twisted the tree. It's got that kind of spiral shape, almost like Jeffrey's fan is saying the spiral galaxy, right? So it's got that kind of shape. So that's what you're looking out for. And that's the first visual cue that you're getting close to one of those areas. Then you can kind of start tapping into what you are feeling. And that can sometimes that's where it gets a little individual. So different people might feel or experience different things, at different vortexes.
And there is a very basic way that you can check and see if you're in a vortex. And basically it's using your body as like a human divining rods. And so what you do is like when you see the visual cues, like you might get a little bit goosebumpy or tingly, and you literally just stand with your legs shoulder width apart, put your arms straight out in front of you, palms facing each other, and your palms will actually be drawn together like a magnet. And if it starts off slow and it doesn't really build, you might just be on the edge of the vortex. Try taking a couple of steps forward and doing that same test again. You kind of want your palms to build up in speed as you're getting close. And that is a good way to know that you have found a vortex. But there's differences between the vortexes. There's upward vortexes, there's downward vortexes, there's horizontal vortexes. That's one of the things this podcast about, is to teach you the differences between the two and how to work with them when you get to them.
Right. And again, this is where there are some visual cues. There's some visual signs to what type of vortex you're in. Basically, this is where you are looking at the shape of the land. Are you on a mountain, a structure that is pointing up skyward? Then you're probably in an upward vortex. Good examples of these would be like Bell Rock or Airport. These are upward vortexes where the shape of the earth is literally pointing up. The alternative to that would be the downward vortexes, where it's more like a canyon, a cave. Boynton Canyon is a good example of this, but these are more downward, where the land kind of comes in on itself. It's shaped in. So that's kind of the two visual cues. And then we can talk a little bit about what you might feel at those.
And there also is a horizontal vortex that's out there. So there's three different kinds. And so there's the upward vortexes. That's kind of like the big hoodoos and stuff that you see kind of coming up in the middle of the desert. And the best way to think of an upward vortex is, I would say, like, think of the male end of an outlet. Kind of in that it's the kind of in that the female outlet is going to be like, again, those downward vortexes, canyons, creeks, kind of like things where like things just come down. And there's very different feelings in those. The third one is the horizontal vortex. These are lookouts, like vistas, where you can see out. And one of the things I really like about the vista overlook, it's one of those vortexes that allows you to kind of like see through time, like see what's happening ahead of you, kind of get out there and kind of like get that foresight, that forethought to kind of like make a plan for the future.
So, guys, let's start getting into like the individual vortexes themselves. We know a lot of people know about like the four major vortexes. So, again, we're going to kind of go into more of the vortexes that not a lot of people know about too. So, we're just going to kind of go down our list of the vortex guide that we created here and kind of give you guys a little bit of information um, on each one. And then in another episode, we'll dive a little deeper into how you can work the energy of that vortex and how it can benefit you. So, guys, let's work the magic here. Which one are we going over first?
We're gonna talk about Oak Creek Canyon, because there's a lot of vortexes in Oak Creek Canyon. It's actually one of the places I highly recommend going to when you first kind of get to Sedona. Like, starting off, just like coming down from Flagstaff, you have the Oak Creek Vista Overlook. It's really before you start hitting the switchbacks, before you come down to Oak Creek Canyon. It's about a little quarter mile, like easy walk for pretty much just about anybody to kind of get out there and get that overlook. It just kind of like
So it's
allows
a
you to.
little easier.
Yes,
Yeah, it's going to be a little simple.
yes, no, like like 15 minutes round trip is kind of like what you could do it in easily. But it's also a good place to like set intentions before you like come down into the valley. Kind of like, what am I looking for? What do I want? What do I want for my future? And then as you get down into Oak Creek, literally about maybe less than a mile from the switchbacks coming from the Vista Overlook, you're going to drive by Harding Springs, which is a natural spring in Oak Creek Canyon. A lot of locals all go there to fill up their water bottles. It's a great purified water that's run through all the limestone and red rock out here. It's also great for making moon water with, to help with manifestations and protections and all that kind of stuff. And then I also would like to do an honorable mention to the West Fork Trail, which some people consider to be one of the top 10 hikes in the United States. It is definitely one of the most sought after. And that's one of those huge horizontal vortexes that you just kind of go in. It's one of these hikes that just creates timelessness as you're walking through it. And kind of in that, it's just like allows you to completely forget. Like, the other cool thing about the horizontal vortexes is they let you completely forget about the outside world. Kind of like, so you can just be in the moment. So when you get back to the real world, when you're done doing West Fork Trail, you can kind of have some clarity to make some honest decisions. There is a lot of places in Oak Creek Canyon you can pull off, get down to the water, and kind of in that clear your energy. This is one of the big things that I love about Oak Creek. It's a great place to release things that no longer serve you, to clear and ground your energy before you get into Sedona and start really working with the vortexes. Last thing I want to mention about Oak Creek Canyon and Oak Creek is the sycamore trees. People often ask me, how do I tap into the spiritual energy here in Sedona other than randomly walking through a vortex? The sycamore trees, you can't miss them. They're the biggest trees down by Oak Creek. They got the white bark on them, are literally the spiritual antennas for the valley. Just putting your bare feet on those roots like a hippie can really help just ground your energy and give you clarity. So that is Oak Creek Canyon on the new Vortex guy.
Nice, nice. So, Relic, which one are you covering?
All right. So I'm going to be talking about airport vortex. This is definitely one of my favorites. This is also the first one of the four, what I'll call the classic vortexes, I guess, that a lot of people are familiar with. For those of you that don't know, by the way, those four vortexes, Airport, Bell, Boynton, and Cathedral, those were all identified by a channeler back in the 80s, I believe. Her name was Paige Bryant. So that, like Jeffrey was saying, those four sites, they are all great sites. But those have been the only points on the map for the last like 40 years. So definitely, I think there are other places worth exploring. But that being said, Airport is one of my favorite places in town. And Airport is one of those vortexes where there's kind of a few vortexes inside of the bigger vortex. So there's a couple different options and places you can go. There is literally a vortex at the airport. You can drive all the way up to the top of the airport mountain. There is an airport here in Sedona. I believe it is mostly like tour planes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
and more like private
yeah, there's
jets.
no 740. There is an airport. You can drive all the way to the top, and close to that airport, there is a vortex up there. There's one of those twisty trees. It marks it quite well. And there's a really cool scenic overlook and stuff that you can look out to West Sedona.
Yeah, a lot of people go up there to watch the sunset.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a phenomenal place to watch sunset.
That's
Then,
also another horizontal vortex where everybody goes to watch sunset.
yes, yes. So that's going to be what they call the scenic lookout at airport. Then you also have the option to go to the saddle. And the saddle is kind of like the divot in between the larger mountain where the airport actually is. And there's a smaller summit off to the side, and there's kind of a divot in between those two. That's what they call the saddle. If you take the airport loop trail, which starts up at the scenic lookout, that airport loop will take you right through the saddle and then back up to where you started. So if you take the airport loop, you'll run into the saddle about halfway through. If you're lucky, you can also get parking along Airport Road, and that is a much shorter walk than to that specific vortex. Last but not least, there's my favorite, which is the summit. So this is the smaller summit off to the side of the saddle. And this for me is always the most empowering place. Airport summit is like the definition of an upward vortex for me. It's very empowering. It's energizing. That's where I go when I need a little bit of a recharge. A caveat to bringing this one up is I got to the point where I almost didn't like telling people about this one very much because there's a specific reason. So as I've been going up there over the last year or two, I've noticed an increased amount of graffiti on Airport Summit. And it's mostly in the form of people scratching into the rocks with other rocks. And it looks trashy. It's not in alignment with the energy of the space. I'll just say that. So all I would ask is that if you go, be respectful of the space, and
actually any of them.
Yeah, any of the vortexes. But that's the one where like I literally got to the point where I'm like, man, I told so many people to go there. And then as every time I went, it just seemed like there was more and more. And even there's some on the trees. So just please don't do that. Anywhere in nature, treat it with respect. Sedona is a sacred space, so let's honor that. Anyways, there's my piece about that. But yes, Airport Mountain, the summit is definitely one of my favorite spots.
I mean, really, like a lot of people. I always tell people to go to the airport, especially like if they're like, "Where can we go to watch the sunset?" And there's also a restaurant up there, if I remember correctly.
And it's actually a pretty decent restaurant. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
There is one other place in Sedona to go watch sunsets, and it's also a very powerful horizontal vortex, and that is Secret Slick Rock, not to be confused with Slide Rock, probably the most hit place in Oak Creek and Sedona where everybody wants to go and bring their friends and the kids. It's what makes Oak Creek dirty. Secret Slide Rock is actually right above Crescent Moon Ranch, in that it's actually a cool spot where you can look down at people walking through Crescent Moon Ranch. And if you're like Mike and I, you know where a couple of the vortexes are. And it's very interesting. You're on Secret Slide Rock and you're looking down at where some of the other little smaller vortexes are in Crescent Moon Ranch. Because when people walk through these vortexes, that is always where like the kid throws something out of the stroller. That's where somebody always gets a text. That's where somebody's like, got to grab their partner's arm and be like, I got to tell you something really quick. And it's like, from this bird's eye view, it's like they don't know that they're even in a vortex, but it's like the vortex is like, hold on, you got to stay here for a couple more seconds so I can clear some of this nastiness off of you. And it's like, that's literally how easily it can work out here. Later on in this podcast, we're definitely going to be getting into more like specifically how to work with intention and kind of like do a little bit of that. But it's like, you don't really need to have much intention for the vortexes to
Yeah,
work
you
for you
don't.
out
It's
here.
almost like the vortex does the work for you.
But also don't come out here and like, hey, vortex, I want you to prove to me that a vortex exists, because they might surprise the bejesus out of you on that one. Okay. Like, oh my God, you go home and you lose your job and you're getting a divorce because you're in bad relationships where something worked. Like, now the vortex has proven to you that it exists.
Yeah. Also, so Secret Slick Rock would also be the first one I would say falls under the category of the Cathedral Rock vortexes. So Cathedral Rock is kind of the larger formation. And so Cathedral Rock, or sometimes people will call it Red Rock Crossing Vortex area. But yeah, Secret Slick Rock, I recently went there for the first time and I am a big fan. So yeah, I would definitely say check it out. Another good spot to watch sunset.
Yeah, and here this does involve a little bit of a hike. It's not like park and walk like for like the sunset when you're at airport, but this is also the ones like people like go out there and they put on their wedding dresses and stuff to take quick wedding pictures and things like that. There is no buildings or anything in the view for the sunset. It's very clean in that aspect. So it's definitely like, it's also a one that a lot of people don't know about, at least up until now.
All right. So while we're talking about the Cathedral Rock and Red Rock Crossing area vortexes, we can talk about Crescent Moon Ranch and Buddha Beach. So Crescent Moon Ranch is a day use picnic area. I think that's the only one on our guide that you have to pay to get into. So you pay, I don't know, $8 a car or something like that. Then you can stay there all day. You're maybe a football field or so distance from the parking lot to the creek. So you can walk right over the creek. You can pretty much just walk along until you find the spot that feels right to you. And there is a specific spot a little ways down they call Buddha Beach. That's where you're going to find a whole bunch of big flat rocks right next to Oak Creek. And that can be a good place to just kind of chill out. That I think is a very clearing space energetically. It can be a good place to like let things go or just relax. That's kind of Sedona's beach. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Giant's Foot?
Yes, I would definitely like to talk a little bit about Giant's Foot, because it's basically like if you're at Buddha Beach and you keep walking past Buddha Beach, like maybe 30 yards past it, you'll see this big, huge red rock that kind of looks like it's being pulled up out of the ground, and it looks like a giant's foot. And there's definitely some vortex energy that is pulling that rock out. Kind of a little bit later in the season, there's not a whole lot of water going by there, but I've definitely gone there and like meditated and worked and like seen remnants of other spiritual shamans and shamanistas that have worked in that same area. And I want to say like one of the things that Giant's Foot has done for me is definitely like allowed me to tap in with like ancestral energy, like past life energy, get like ancestral guidance. Buddha Beach and like all in the Crescent Moon Ranch area is a great place to like clear energy, to ground energy. It's a great place to like take negative memories, put it in rocks and throw it in Oak Creek to get rid of those things, to clear for what you want to bring in. That's Giant's Foot. It's maybe 10, 15 yards long, about 8 yards wide. It's not that huge. So if you can find it, that definitely means you're tapped into the energy.
And that one's kind of past the bend by Buddha Beach, right? If I remember correctly.
Very little, but yes,
Yeah.
You can see Beach clearly from Giant's Foot. You can hear the people talking on Buddha Beach at the edge of Buddha
Right,
Beach
right,
where
right.
you're on Giant's Foot.
Yeah,
Sure, for
so
sure.
it is one though that you will have to hunt a little bit. You're not going to find it marked on Google Maps. And similarly, another one that you probably won't find marked on Google Maps is the half moon in Boynton Canyon. Do you want to talk about the half moon?
Okay, yes. This is definitely so Boynton Canyon, follow the trail marks like you're going up to the lookout. Once you're actually at the last like trail marker for the lookout, it's like you're going to start going up and you're going to start hooking to the left. You are going to see a bunch of dead juniper trees that look like they got caught in tornadoes for their whole life, falling that had fall down. Kind of in that, as you start seeing these bright white trees and other twisted ones that are lying on the ground, you'll see them mostly on your left hand side. On that left hand side, it's almost like spirit cut out this little half moon in the side of the hill with like red flat rocks that you can literally sit on. That is an extremely powerful spin-off vortex from Kachina Woman in that energy. Because Boynton Canyon is one of the few upward vortexes that has feminine energy, but that is a great place. That the half moon one is a great place to stop, clear your energy, kind of like get all like the toxicity out before you get up and start working with the manifestation or the warrior or warrioress energy at the top of Boynton. But you can talk more about that up there.
Yes. So the one that is more clearly marked and more well known would be Kachina Woman out in Boynton Canyon. This is another really great hike. This is a very strong feminine energy vortex. And I would say I've had some of my more kind of like sacred experiences out in Boynton Canyon. Kachina Woman definitely is another one of my favorites. And that one you will find there's pretty clear trail markings and stuff. So that's kind of the main, most well-known vortex out in Boynton Canyon. So a very strong feminine energy vortex.
That is a great one to bring in the feminine warrioress, to bring in that feminine healing energy to like really allow yourself to like tackle on what's coming next in life. For sure, for sure.
Well, I mean, which kind of coincides with what's going on with the world right now too. The divine feminine is waking up and she's coming back with a vengeance, baby.
Definitely.
If you definitely want to like tap into that energetically, that would be the place to go. Bring in that feminine energy, even if you're a guy. Like bring in the feminine.
And if you would like, if you need to bring in a lot of change or bring in birth to new things in your life, that is a great vortex to, hey,
Right.
to kind of like,
Creating and manifesting.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of bringing
Yeah.
in that. When we got other vortexes we're talking about have similar energies too, but for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I would say also Kachina Woman is a good place to go to ask for healings. I've also
Definitely. Ooh, I got goosebumps you saying that.
Kachina Woman, I think in particular, likes to help assist in healing processes. So that wraps up our Boynton Canyon. There's other cool places in Boynton Canyon too, but we're just going to talk about those two for now. We're going to jump into Bell Rock. So Bell Rock, I would say
Lord.
Bell Rock is like the fan favorite of them all. In fact, when I first moved to Sedona, I like made a habit of asking everybody what their favorite vortex was. And hands down, like 8 or 9 out of 10 people will tell you Bell Rock. So it's definitely like the fan favorite celebrity of them all. And there's a reason for that. It's a great, strong vortex. A lot of people, I think, will feel the energy there, even if they are not super sensitive and open to all this stuff. So that can be a good place to take people that are kind of new to experiencing this type of phenomenon. And Bell Rock is another one of those vortexes where like there's multiple vortexes inside the big vortex. So if you don't know, Bell Rock is shaped like a bell. And around kind of the outer perimeter of Bell Rock, it is like the big flat red rocks. And that's kind of the first vortex. A lot of people will call that the flats. So when you hit those big flat rocks approaching Bell Rock, before you even get to the actual rock formation itself, you'll start feeling some of the energy. That can be a good place to find some of those smaller twisty trees and do some kind of work before you get to the big one.
And here's the thing, like if you've seen a vortex in water, like the big ones, you see how like you get little spin-off vortexes, and the flats in Bell Rock is definitely where there is a lot of little spin-off vortexes. And here's the thing, each vortex is like a human being. They've all got their own little personalities and little things that they can help you work with. So it's like it's almost like working with crystals. Like you can't pick the wrong one. Your energy is going to draw you towards the right one, especially down on those flats. But there is like the big powerful one that a lot of people try and hit, which is like a little bit. Well, Mike, why don't you kind of get us there?
Yeah, so we're talking about Eagle Rock.
Yes, Eagle
So
Rock.
Eagle Rock, this is another one of those ones you're not going to find it named Eagle Rock on Google Maps, right? This is our name for the or the upper level vortex at Bell Rock. So when you're at Bell, and you're doing the Bell Rock hike, there are stacks of rocks kind of wrapped in like wire mesh. And so those are the trail markers. They call them Karens, which is a weird name to me. It makes me think there's a lot of like entitled, angry customers guiding people's way on the
Well, and here's
Vortex
the thing, you
Trail.
got to be careful with those Karens because people make them everywhere and you're not looking for Karens, you're looking for the baskets filled with rocks. That's how you get up the Bell Rock climb. And kind of in that, it's like, it's a bit of a scramble. It's like you have to be adventurous to make it up to Eagle Rock. Kind of like you have to like slide on your butt a little ways on the way down. You got to be able to like take some chances, like scrambling to get up.
Yeah, so this is one of the vortexes. The upper level part of Bell Rock is better if you're looking for a little bit of a physical challenge along with your vortex experience. But it's definitely well worth it if you can make the climb. When you finally get up to kind of the end of the trail of like Jeffrey said, the baskets of rocks, you will find a big rock it faces out to the 89, so, or no, the 179.
179. It's so
So what would
that's
that be, facing west, right, basically?
correct.
So it's the western face of Bell Rock, and it just looks like a big eagle head. When you get to it, you'll know you're there. But I also would say that there again are other spots on Bell Rock once you get up there that also have that kind of concentration of energy. So find your own spot that feels right to you once you get up there, and don't push yourself harder than you should. Be safe, all that. But yeah, it's definitely the Bell Rock, like upper part of Bell Rock is worth it if you can make the climb.
Especially when it's hot out, guys. Everybody needs to be careful when it's hot outside. There's so many people that have to get rescued on a lot of these hikes. So, if you do plan on hiking, bring extra water because Arizona is super dry and she'll literally suck you dry.
And
So, just make sure you're bringing water and where people know where you're at and, things like that.
Ken, I just want to go back to Bell Rock for a quick second. In Eagle Rock, in that area, I gotta say, as a psychic working in Sedona, I have actually seen visions and had a lot of very interesting things happen to me on Bell Rock. I'm also kind of crazy, and I hike some of these vortexes in full moons. But it's also kind of like a thinning of the veil. And in that, like, there's a couple different sections. Like, there's Eagle Rock is probably like the lowest one for where the vortexes go. The vortexes goes on Bell Rock. There's almost like another level up above Eagle Rock where I've actually gone and been drawn to that one. So it's basically when you're trying to find Eagle Rock, you're heading straight up from the Bell Rock climb. And then once you kind of feel the energy shift in the Karens, after you've done some scrambling, you're gonna go on that right hand side. It's literally when you see Eagle Rock, you'll be facing 179. All right.
Cool. All right. So that's Bell Rock. Definitely a fan favorite. So if you're here and you could only check out one vortex, that would honestly be where I would tell people to go. And so next we're going to talk about the Stupa Park. And this is another one of my very favorite places in Sedona. I know I have a few of them.
Mike, Stupa Park, say it ain't so.
Right. And so this one is actually the Amitabha Stupa Peace Park, but that is a mouthful. So we usually just say Stupa. It is Stupa. And it's a Buddhist park, technically. So there's a big stupa. If you don't know what a stupa is, it's kind of a pyramid shaped object that represents the Buddha and his enlightenment. And so you can go there to kind of absorb that energy. You can walk around it. You can sit in prayer, whatever you're moved to do. But that is a great place to go. I would say it's a great place to go to act as like a megaphone for your intention. If you want to send prayer, positive energy out, you want to manifest some change in your life, the stupa, I think, kind of acts like a megaphone for that intention.
Or a great way, another way I like to put it is like it's a great way as a lens to magnify what you want to accomplish when you're out here. If you're like, I'm not spiritual, I don't know where to go. There's the stupa. It'll help you, guide you. It'll help you set prayer intentions. You can use the prayer wheels that are out there. It's actually a very, very cool place. And it's actually right by a Native American medicine wheel that they have in Stupa Park as well. And so if you're looking to tap more into the earth, into the elements, kind of just walking around in that medicine wheel can also really help you just tap into the ground and the spiritual energy here in Sedona and into the Native American culture, because they definitely have been coming here for thousands of years, a lot longer to tap into the spiritual energy here in Sedona than a lot longer than all of us.
Yes, Sedona has definitely been a spiritual destination for many different cultures for a very long time. And I think the medicine wheel is a cool way of honoring that. And so if you go to the Stupa Park, definitely check out the medicine wheel while you're there. Also, you will see when you're at the Stupa, you can see Chimney Rock. So you can kind of connect with it from there. You can also hike up to Chimney Rock if you want. Now, I will say this is one of the more difficult climbs, and it's a very marked out path, but it's very steep. There is a Chimney Rock loop, which is a little bit more moderate, still sort of difficult, but those are definitely some really cool upward vortexes. There are also trails that are usually a little bit less traveled. So if you're here trying to go to some other more popular hiking trail and that one is filled up, I would say try checking out Chimney Rock or Chimney Rock Loop. I think Andante Trailhead is the closest one. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about some caves. So Raven Caves is definitely at the top of my list because Raven Caves is one that we went to recently and did some work in. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yes, I would very much like to
I
talk
could
about
see
Raven.
you chafing
Yeah,
at the
like,
bit.
Even caught you on camera getting a little excited there, buddy.
so let me explain to you a little bit more about caves and downward vortexes as opposed to just like creeks and canyons and downward vortexes. Like, I don't know how many of you have actually been in any caves, but I'm sure you've seen the movies where like the young kids go into the cave like, I don't know, Bobby, I feel scared. This isn't right. We shouldn't be here. Kind of in that there's always that uncomfortable feeling when people go into these caves. Kind of in that what a downward vortex does, if you haven't cleared your energy, if you haven't grounded your energy. When you get in some of these caves, what they will literally do is bubble up to the surface all of your insecurities and all of the shadow work and all of the things that you're holding on to that you need to let go of. That's why when some people get in these caves, they feel so freaking uncomfortable and like, oh my God, is there monsters and stuff? Nope, it's just your own energy that you haven't cleared. But also in these caves, it is a great places to do some very powerful shaman or shamanista or yogi and yoganista work. Cause like you never hear about the yoganista or the shaman that runs around from village to village helping as many people as they possibly can. It's always about the yoganista or the shaman that goes in the deep, dark cave. Because when you go into the caves, those who look outward dream, those who look inward awaken. And so that's why I get really excited about Raven's Cave, because it's a very easy 15-minute easy to walk to get to. On top of the cave is a tree that we call sisa that is the most perfect representation for a vortex tree that you could possibly imagine in your life. So it's like when you see that, you start going down, it's literally like just underneath that where the cave is to get into Raven Caves. Definitely a little bit of scrambling, so just be careful because there are a couple places where you can fall, but definitely one of those powerful places where you can really open up, do some shadow work, let go of what's no longer serving you, or call in some ancestors.
All right. So, a couple other caves that are popular destinations here in town. There's Subway Cave and Birthing Caves. So, these are both out in Boynton Canyon. These are I would say these are longer adventures. Subway Caves in particular. I know people have gone on this hike and be, we thought we were going to do it in an hour or two. It took us 3-4 hours. So give yourself plenty of time for these ones. Subway Cave in particular, people can underestimate the amount of time that one will take. Birthing caves, I think last time I did that one, I did it in less than 2 hours, but I didn't stay there a long time. So
I've also heard that birthing cave is one of those ones it's easy to get down to. It's getting back out of that's the issue.
Yes. Yeah. It's a little more uphill on the way back to the car. So, but those again, caves are really good places to do that inner work, do that shadow work. So, if you are drawn to one of those, I would say definitely explore that, follow that. All right. So, there are other ones, guys, too. Again, we used to hand out a guide that just had 4 dots on the map, and that was it. So we're trying to just really raise awareness that there's other vortexes here in town, right? Those 4 that everybody knows are great. They're like the celebrities of the vortex world, though. They're just the ones that everybody knows. There's others out there. So explore a little bit. Any honorable mentions? Anything else you want to add to that?
I think it's important to kind of work both aspects of the vortexes when you come out here. You like trying to do the upward, the downward, and the horizontal kind of gives you a really well-rounded experience, which is I think we're going to start breaking into what you're going to feel like when you get into some of these vortexes, how to set intention before you get there in ceremony. Because I'll tell you, when you get in a vortex and like it's really powerful, one of the things that I know being super psychic is I start breathing really like I've walked up a hill, but I haven't like whoo, whoo, like, and I can't stop doing it. It's like I'm not out of breath, but it's just the energy in the air is almost thick, like
It's releasing it though, doing that. It's like unintentional breath work, pretty
exactly.
much.
Yes, yes.
Unintentional breath work at this point. But I agree with Jeffrey and Relic. Like a lot of these places are very awesome for doing energy work, whether you're aware of it or not. Again, if you set intentions prior to it, you will get a little bit more out of it. But walking through these vortexes and hiking them and all of that, you're still going to get some type of energetic release or something coming in for you even as well. So it just depends on what you need when you're really.
Yeah, and I would say that one of the cool things about Sedona's energy is while it is easier to feel here, it's easier to tap into it here. It doesn't have to only exist in this space. It's like Sedona's positive energy is like a song that you learn when you come here. Once you learn the song, you go sing it wherever you want, right? So I'm a fan of telling people like really soak it up, really embrace the moment when you're out in these places, really pay attention to all your 5 senses. What are you seeing, feeling, smelling? What's the ground feel like under your feet? And soak that all up, because then when you get back to wherever you are visiting from, you'll be able to kind of summon that same energy back by reconnecting with that.
And so if you're like, I have no idea how to go and meditate in a vortex or anything like that, there's a couple of techniques that you can use that could be really helpful. And so another way I want you guys to think about these vortexes is like normally when people meditate, like you have to be calm. You have to like close out the rest of the world. You have to like let that energy build.
Wusa.
It's like a planetary telescope trying to like look out into the universe. It's got to go through Earth's atmosphere and light and everything else and pollution. When you get into these vortexes to work, it's like you're putting your consciousness as the James Webb telescope. You're already out and away from Earth. You can see out into the cosmos almost instantaneously when you start meditating. And there's a technique that somebody developed out here. It's about you can use this in a lot of different meditations, and it's been used in a lot of different ways. But basically, just feel energy at the tip of your very toes and just have it slowly build up and go through your body, like almost like a electrical Jacob's ladder. And as soon as it goes out, just start pulsing that through your body. And that is a great way to start opening your consciousness to what is happening around you and to what you can feel and about sending your intentions out. The other thing to do is like if you are Catholic, if you have spirit guides that you work with, like going to these places to pray, to meditate, to bring in your guides to work with and say, hey, this is what I want for myself. You can also bring crystals into these vortexes to get them charged or to use them as lenses to help focus your intention for what you want to work on spiritually while you're here.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm a fan of like bringing some tools along.
I'm afraid.
Fran, I'm Jeffrey. How you
Hey,
doing?
Fran.
It's Fran.
Vortex Fran.
So I am definitely a fan of bringing some tools out when I go out to work in these vortexes, right? So yeah, bringing some crystals, one to bring some positive energy along. Also, again, to kind of act like an energetic sponge, something that I can kind of soak a little bit of that energy up into. I usually even bring just something small, a little crystal I can throw in my pocket, but something that I can focus on when I'm in that space. And then I'm just a big fan of really tuning into the awareness of the moment. Again, feeling the breath in the body, paying attention to the sights, the sounds, and the colors around you, animals, trees, the sky, all that, right? I think that going out there to speak to your ancestors and guides is great. Also, sometimes we need to go out there and listen and be quiet and be still and be open to what comes in. So, just do what you're drawn to do when you get out into the space.
You
But
do you, boo boo.
I will say one of the definitive requirements is the ability to actually sit still for a little while. But here's the other thing. This isn't like going to like a Tibetan monastery where you're supposed to meditate for like 12 hours a day. You can literally get in these vortexes, folks, and it can create energetic shift with you within 15, 20 minutes, even less than that. Like I said about the people just walking through in a few seconds. People are like, especially in today's society, are always looking for that quick fix, that magic pill. Like, what's the new diet fad? What's going to work? And as far as energetically and spiritually, like the biggest quick, energetic, spiritual, magical pill fix that I know about on planet Terra, also known as Earth, is the vortexes here in Sedona and the other vortexes here on the planet.
yeah, definitely. I would say that for me personally, the vortexes here in Sedona have played a big part in like my awakening journey and my activation process. And I mean, I've been coming here for over 2 decades. I've lived in Arizona for a long time. I live in Sedona now, but even before, I was only a couple hours away. So I think that coming to this place earlier in my life kind of planted some energetic seeds, helped some things to open up. And there definitely are other places like this on the planet. There's Stonehenge, there's the pyramids, right? These are sites that I think ancient cultures built these on top of places where they already felt the sacred energy. And so I think Sedona is just another example of that. But definitely, if you're drawn to come here, I think you owe it to yourself to, experience the vortexes. And that definitely, I would say, is the best way to feel them and know what they're about is to get out into them. Go experience them for yourselves.
Right. And again, like we'll have more episodes in the future and of getting deeper into some of the vortexes and how you can use that for your benefit and all of that jazz. We just want to say thank you guys for listening and watching today. Keep an eye out for our next episode as well. So I am MA. I'm signing off. Stay magical, everybody.
And I am Jeffrey, and I invite you all to come down to Crystal Magic Psychic Center and pick up our free Vortex guide that lists everything that we just talked about and kind
Yes.
of like gives you a little bit more to work with. We could talk about this all day, the three of us. But if you have questions, please come in, ask us. We are here for you. Or write some questions in on the podcast for us. Like if you want us to like talk about a few more things, like we definitely have a lot more to talk about when it
Yeah,
comes to
get
this
involved.
stuff.
Get
Yeah,
involved.
there's definitely some stuff we didn't really even have time to scratch the surface on. There's some specific meditation techniques and things that we could get into. So if you guys are interested in that, leave a comment. Also, if we left one of your favorite vortexes out and we forgot to mention it, let us know what your favorite vortex is that we forgot to talk about. Or if you've had a cool experience at one of the ones we did talk about, feel free to leave a comment about that.
Yes, definitely. Like if you go to any of these and you have a like an awesome experience, please let other people know in the comments.
Yep. And then remember, follow us, guys. Sedona Psychics Podcast. Follow us on social media. Go check out the website, crystalmagicpsychiccenter.com. And if you're in town, feel free to stop in and say hi.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for stopping by, guys.
Namaste.